I remember that fall, the weather was cool, birds made their way south, we made our way back to school for a year that was like no other, especially for Pug. See, this family of 5 moved to our little town. The news of their arrival quickly spread all around and was the center of gossip everyone often spoke of. Both the mom and the dad worked up in D.C., and every question was asked from A to Z when we learned the dad was working for the FBI. There were young twin boys named Jason and Tate, and a girl named Mona who had just turned 8. Some said that Mona was training to become a spy. On Mona's first day at school, things began to change, especially when Pug started acting so strange. It seems that Mona was the match to light Pug's fire. As the new girl in school, we all gave her a stare. Boys focused on her freckles, girls looked at her hair, but everyone looked to see if she was wearing a wire. Pug sat across from Mona when her class was in art. He thought she was cool, a good artist and smart. The rest of us felt like she was there undercover. But for Pug, Mona made him feel funny inside, like that feeling you can get from a carnival ride. And every now and then, I saw them look at each other. Pug was lost in daydreams every day about talking to Mona and the things he would say. At least by then, things really hadn't gotten so bad. One day at lunch, Nathan asked, "What's with you, Pug?" Clarence Moona said, "I think Pug is in love." I sat there surprised that Pug didn't even get mad. Though some kids laughed, Pug paid them no mind, for he saw Mona in the lunch serving line. Before we knew it, Pug was up and out of his seat. Like a lion with its eyes locked hard on his prey, he decided to ask to carry Mona's tray. I could see he was nervous, cause he nearly stumbled over his feet. Pug moved by the door with the "Exit Here" label to cut Mona off before she kicked to a table, adjusted his clothes, then turned and put his back to the wall. 3 students walked by. Finally, Mona came out. Pug walked up to her, just shaking with doubt, then motioned for a tray without saying anything at all. Mona stopped, then said, "You're in my way. If you're hungry for lunch, then get your own tray." Pug just stood there, not knowing what he should do. Mona cracked a little smile as she walked on around, found a place at a table, had already sit down when Pug finally spit it out. "Can I carry your tray for you?" Feeling like he may have already struck out, Pug returned to our table, smothered in doubt, unaware that Nathan had watched everything that took place. He thought to himself, "Now what will I say? Mona thinks I'm a pig just after her tray," then sat there with a sad puppy dog look on his face. Still thinking to himself, "I need Mona to see. She's got a secret admirer, but not know it's me," then finished his lunch while his mind continued to roam. At the end of the day, Pug was taking his coat when it hit. "I'll write a song and a secret love note," then grabbed the rest of his things and hurried off heading for home. Later that night, with paper and pen, Pug laid over his bed, and then he began. As he worked on his note, he also worked on a plan. For 2 straight hours he scribbled that night. Never once did he stop until he felt it was right, and he didn't use words he couldn't spell or didn't understand. Finally, Pug's note had come to its end. He read it over several times, checked the spelling, and then, in his untrained voice, Pug stood up and started to sing. "Dear Mona, this song is for you, for all that you are and all that you do. Whether there's sunshine or if it is rain, I'm your secret admirer, and Pug is my name." Out of the house by 6 the following day, Pug collected some flowers as he went on his way. He had heard that flowers can help to win a girl's heart. Opening his backpack with delicate pride, he put in the flowers, the note, and zipped them inside. Up until then, Pug knew this was the easiest part. Pug would have to reach school before school began and get into his room before Miss Puddle got in. So once the school was unlocked, he would have to move fast. The hedges by the school were a great place to hide. Once the front door was open, Pug crept off inside, and he barely made it into his room when somebody went past. Now feeling like his plan would be a success, he pushed the flowers and the note inside Mona's desk, then peered into the hall before dashing back out the same way. Undetected, Pug quickly made it back outside, then tried to keep his cool and not look so surprised when Miss Puddle walked up and said, "Pug, you're early today." Later in class, his heart pounded his chest, anxious for Mona to reach inside of her desk. When she finally reached in, it seemed things would turn out great. Nearly perfect, his plan, except Pug didn't see one of the flowers he had picked came attached with a bee, or the chaos his backfired plan was about to create. That horrible scream which scared everyone. "Oh, the pain," cried Mona. "I think I've been stung." Then fell back in her seat, held her finger, and started to drool. In panic, Miss Puddle rushed us out in the hall, then yelled, "I need a 911 emergency call." In minutes, fire trucks and police cars encircled the school. Firemen with axes, police, and bulletproof vests quickly stormed in our room and attacked Mona's desk. Pug started to feel like he had committed a crime. After a while, the fire chief opened the door and said, "You don't need to worry about that bee anymore." Then said we were all pretty lucky that they got there in time. He said the problem were those flowers we found in the desk, which were perfect for a bee that's in need of a nest. You've got to treat bees like fire. Stop, drop, and roll. Then he explained what his team had to do and how we couldn't use our room for a week, maybe two, but ensured us kids they had everything under control. Miss Puddle said, "We're fine, all the kids are okay." Then started telling him about our upcoming play when the other firemen started coming out all in a line. She said, "Our play's about nature, you know, birds and trees." Then she lowered her voice, and of course they're bees, but they're nice bees, so come and join us if you have the time. After saying goodbye to each of them, Miss Puddle said, "Class, we're moving down to the gym." Then two at a time, she sent us into the room for our stuff. Nathan peeked in the room and said, "Look at this mess, and all from a bee inside Mona's desk. From the look of things, that bee must have really been tough." Puck could tell that Nathan was staring at him and said, "I know, and now we have to move to the gym. This is not a good way to start off a new year." "I wondered," asked Nathan, "how the flowers got there." Clarence Moonen walked in and said, "Probably out of thin air." Then Nathan said, "Would you looky what I have here." Bug got a great big lump in his throat when he turned to see Nathan now holding his note. Luckily, only the four of us were inside the room. "Clarence," Nathan said, "you were right about Pug. He'll need help getting through this thing called love, because if a word of this mess gets out, it will be Pug's doom." Now a bit more relaxed, Pug cleared his young throat. He told us all about the flowers, his plan, and the note, and to our surprise, Pug stood there and started to sing. "Dear Mona, this song is for you, for all that you are and all that you do. Whether there's sunshine or if it is rain, I'm your secret admirer, and Pug is my name." Over a week had passed since we moved to the gym. Pug was still bothered. It was all thanks to him. He never dreamed that his plan would cause Mona pain. After the nurse checked her finger and wiped off the drool, she had to wait for an hour till her mom reached the school, and her shirt got damaged because the drooling left a real nasty stain. Now a thing of her past Mona carried along. No longer in pain, all the swelling was gone, but I'm sure she wondered what had happened, or even why. Pug, Nathan, Clarence, and I knew too well the truth. Now a promise that we'd never tell, that was sealed by crossing our hearts and hoping to die. The class is full of cards later on in the day that told us which part we would have in our play. Some of the bigger kids would even help to set up the stage. Everyone in the play played the part of a thing. Each had a line to say and a line they would sing. All together, we only had to memorize one single page. Nathan picked water, Clarence picked dirt, Mona's bee-stung finger picked the card, the red earth. Every card was final, and teachers enforced that rule. I played a tree, and believe it or not, Pug had to play his part as a rock. I never thought that nature could be so cruel. There were animals and insects from every collection, costumes and props that were made to perfection. That's because we all did our share in art. Pug wanted to impress everybody so bad, he studied how to be a rock with everything that he had, hoping that maybe his performance would win Mona's heart. Many question, how much does a rock really do? Except wait for a kid to maybe throw one or two. A really mean kid would likely throw it straight at a cat. We decided after school we'd go to see Pug to give some advice on the dangers of love. But all we'd ever get from Pug was Mona this, Mona that. Before we went home, there was one last thing. Though good as a rock, Pug was not born to sing, which was one other point where Pug truly needed some help. Realizing our warnings on love were no use, we left love alone and then made a truce to just help Pug with his song, which I kinda liked myself. The school-wide announcement at the end of the day said, "Tell your folks tonight we will have our play." Emotions of every sort raced through everyone's mind. Most kids were excited, but a few were afraid, worried about mistakes that they hadn't yet made. Miss Puddle said, "Class, give it your best and everything will be fine." Pug had no reaction as his mind stayed afloat, still thinking of a way to give Mona his note without it destroying a room or committing a crime. Having to be back at 6 and ready to go for one short rehearsal before the show, Pug's only other concern was being on time. Miss Puddle met our class in a backstage hall, called us all by our full names as she took roll call. Halfway down the list, she called a name even strange to my ear. "Who's that?" asked a kid who was dressed like an ant after Miss Puddle called Percy Ulysses Grant. Many kids were surprised when Pug shyly mumbled, "I'm here." We knew Pug is Pug, so it did seem strange hearing Miss Puddle call him by his full given name. Nevertheless, she continued to read on through. Percy as a first name is bad enough, just spelling Ulysses must really be tough. With a name like that, I'm sure I would have shortened it too. Once the play began, Pug took his place. Even though he was a rock, he wore a smile on his face and waited for his cue to do his part. His eyes followed Mona as the play moved along. Each kid read their line, then sang their song. But what followed, though cute, we knew was not real smart. When Pug started his line, Nathan gave out a cue to only Clarence and I to be ready on two. The risks some kids will take to help out a friend. Where Pug's rock song was supposed to start, Pug started singing words that came from his heart. Nathan counted 1, 2, and we joined in. Dear Mona, this song is for you, for all that you are and all that you do. Whether there's sunshine or if it is rain, I'm your secret admirer, and Pug is my name. The other kids were shocked. Miss Wrench nearly flipped, trying to tell us that our song was not in the script, but nevertheless, we went right on through till the end. Some thought Pug forgot the words to a song and we were just helping to guide him along. But most of the kids got the hint Pug was trying to send. The audience didn't know Pug sang the wrong song. Though we jumped out of script, the play moved along. Everybody stood up and even cheered when the play was done. But once the seats were empty and the people were gone, we were scorned by our teachers and told to get home. Miss Wrench was so mad, we all felt it best that we run. The next day at school, the night before on his mind, Pug slowly made his way through the lunch-serving line. He grabbed a pizza, a cookie, some milk, and a portion of fries. With his lunch in his hand, he started out with his tray, then surprised to find Mona now in his way. He braced himself, held his breath, and closed his eyes. We were at our table, Nathan, Clarence, and I, thinking if Mona's training to become a spy, she's gonna whip Pug, but at least it won't take too long. Mona said one question, then you may move on. Today, after school, can I walk with you home? And if you don't mind, I'd like to hear you sing my song. Dear Mona, this song is for